Olivier, we have a wonderful group here with us, as you can see, and we're here to have open dialogue, a discussion. They have questions that are phenomenal for you to answer. So I've had to ask them to stop because I think you would be the best person to answer. The idea really is to continue transparency and to continue to give everyone the opportunity to hear it from the horse's mouth. Mr. Franchot Manners just said something that you probably missed as you were coming on, and he said, when I ask people why they don't want destiny, they can't answer. It's because of all of the false rumors that they're getting. And I think more of these sessions will allow us to dispel them and give us the opportunity to give them the truth directly from the horse's mouth. Well, you're not a horse, but you know what I mean. And the opportunity for everyone to walk away knowing that it came from you, so there's no space for them to second guess any of the answers. I will pass everyone their phone. When you have your questions, please feel free. Everyone, this is Olivier, everyone. They'll introduce themselves when they ask the questions as well.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for coming, by the way. Enjoy your lunch or whatever it is. And yeah, it's exactly that's true, because my frustration is, of course, there's so many falsehoods being spread around, and it's very frustrating. So we do plan to meet directly with the people, have some sort of conference or whatever to address all of those things, because it's very frustrating. Because I really want to talk to everyone and explain, all the misinformation. It's very frustrating at times, but let's start with this. I think it's a very good beginning to address all of these things.
Let's get some questions.
Okay, good.
He won't hear you in that mic, he'll hear you in the phone.
No.
Yeah, so good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. Yeah, my name is Don Dyer, and I have a question. Seeing that it's a sustainability zone, what I'm wondering is, how do you track or monitor to ensure that you're actually achieving sustainability? Would it be certified by BREEAM or LEED?
Yeah, we have well, I have to say we have no contract with the government signed at this stage, right? Any contract that we sign will have to go in front of Parliament, and it has to be approved in Parliament before it becomes valid. So all the rumors that we already have a contract signed is completely false. So we're still negotiating with the government. We are in advanced negotiations, so we made it pretty far, but that might still take I don't know how long, a couple of weeks, or hopefully sooner. I definitely don't want to have this go past New Year if we can, but we'll see where we end up. The reason why I say that is because once that agreement becomes public, and it will become public, we have to meet all and this is also a misconception with the Special Sustainability Zone Act. The Act sets the precedents required. It's almost a limitation, right? Actually, it is a limitation, because the government could today pass any law specifically for destiny, right? And have all the exceptions we wanted without having an SSZ Act before that, right? If it passes Parliament, that this SSZ Act is not required. Now, the interesting part is that the SSZ Act actually limits the government and sets requirements for special sustainability zones. So it's a safeguard, right? It's completely the opposite of people saying repeal the SSZ. I don't get that, because you're basically repealing the guardrails, right? It doesn't make any sense. Tomorrow, Parliament could pass a destiny-specific act without the SSZ Act, and they could put anything in there that we ask for. Of course, they won't do that, right? But the SSZ Act is a limitation. One of those things in the SSZ Act is one of the limitations in there is that we need to abide by special sustainability goals, right? And for example, 70% has to come from renewables, energy-wise. There's a lot of other items. All of those things are, again, put in the agreement that we're now negotiating with the government in more detail. And yes, one of those details will be that, for example, we need to abide by certain standards, right, to meet those goals. So any goals that you could imagine, we probably will have in there, because they're very strict, right? And that also means we have to qualify, we have to have independent assessments made, etc. So there's a lot of sustainability requirements that we have to abide by. So not only because of the SSZ Act, but also because of the agreement that we will sign.
Okay, and so by saying that then, how do you plan to achieve in the short term during the construction phase, let's say whenever it's approved, during the construction phase, how do you plan to deal with the energy, the water, and your construction waste?
Right. Of course, the geothermal power plant will not be finished by the time we start construction. So there's also a reality that we will have to, we can't have solar power without building the solar power first, right? And to build the solar power, you need power to build. So that's why it says that 70% is required, and there will be a time frame where we still have to use traditional power sources like diesel, whatever is required to make sure we get to that level, right? But of course, we are legally required to have 70% come from renewables. But of course, there's a time frame where we can do that. We can't just install solar out of nowhere without building it first. So there's of course a bit of a time frame for that, right? Which is normal. But it's not a long time frame. We can't do that for 10 years, right? We really have to meet that 70% goal fairly fast.
Okay, so you're saying then there's a chance that the grid itself will be used?
No, that's a different story, right? I don't think we will. We can definitely provide our own power through our own diesel generators. That's completely fine. The last thing we want to be is an additional strain on Nevis, right? Like I said, we want to be an added value. So we are very conscious of the current strain, especially with the water on the electricity, right? So we don't want to do that. And I don't see a reason why we should. I think it's perfectly feasible for us to make sure we provide our own power from the start. But as I said, don't expect that to be renewable from day one. Otherwise, we have to somehow install solar fields, which we cannot do, right? So, but yeah, for sure, no, we won't be a strain. That's very important.
Okay, thank you.
Also, sorry, one more thing to add, and this is not really being specified in the presentation that much, but it's also, again, we want to create a very synergistic relationship with Nevis, right? We are part of Nevis. We're not separate because people say, no, we are part. That's why I always say in my presentation, a video, I say the word together a couple of times because for me, I know people maybe have trouble seeing me as an Nevisian, but I really feel like I'm part of Nevis, right? And I want to improve Nevis. And with my many discussions with the Premier, we always agree that it's not us versus you, it's us. How do we enhance everyone together, right? This is super important. Like the hospital, how do we jointly have a hospital that everyone can enjoy? Not like a hospital in Destiny, something like that. No, Destiny will have like primary care facilities like everywhere else, but the hospital will be the hospital. So there will not be like a separate thing where only people living in Destiny can go. That doesn't exist. Like, to be very clear, everyone can just access Destiny, right? You can just go in. Yeah, okay, there will be a security check like in the Four Seasons, but it's completely integrated with the island. So this idea that we're a separate enclave where no one can come is completely absurd, right? That we want people to come, right? Because the whole point is that we want to have retail and commerce there thrive. So the more people that come over, the better.
Thank you for saying that, because that was one of the points of contingent this afternoon, where it was, we want to have access. Do we still have access? So absolutely love that you shared that, because I was sharing the same sentiment. So it sounds good coming from you as well. I know that, Mackie, you had some questions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay, come say hi. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, please do it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mackie France. I'm the general manager for Palm Garden, so welcome to my little place. I have two questions which I think reflect some of the views of many divisions and petitions. And they are, one of the things that people are concerned about is the amount of land that will be consumed by this project. And land is very dear and near to divisions. It's a legacy that's been passed down, and in a lot of cases, it's a very dear family traditional thing. The second concern is people are worried that destiny will be an entity in and of itself, almost like an island in an island with its own laws and regulations. So that have some people scampering around. What do you say to persons to allay or to arrest those fears and concerns?
Yeah, great questions, and thank you for those. So the first question about the land, I fully agree. I know land is very sacred to Nevisians, and that's also when we buy land, we always have the option for people to swap land, right, to somewhere else in Nevis, so they can keep owning land. We even offer 1.5 times more land, even in better areas. So it's always a choice of the seller. Now, I have to say there's also been a misconception because of a large part of the lands that we're buying were only in the hands of a handful of people, right? And I'll give you statistics after the call if you like, but I think that was already shown before. I don't know the exact numbers, but Elmas can tell you, but I don't know, 5 to 10 pieces of land were how many acres? Elmas, I don't know if you have the exact numbers. So anyway, the whole thing is there was so much land in that area owned by a couple of people or companies that were actually redistributing that to smaller parcels and more in hands again of others, right? And there's also the idea that only foreigners will come, or I'll address the libertarian problem like later because that's also not true. But we also want Nevisians to come, right, and buy and live there. It's not like exclusive for others to come in, right? So we will have affordable housing at one point. The first houses will be more villas, but then we will go to more apartment style units too. Never high rise, by the way. And this goes into my next in the next part of the question about land. Why do we need that much, right? Well, it depends how you look at it. First of all, the land was virtually unoccupied and undeveloped. So it's more like, why do you need a part of the desert? Well, we're going to develop the desert and make it into something extremely beautiful. We're going to improve that part of Nevis. We're not taking from Nevis. Again, like I said, we're still part of Nevis. So the idea that we somehow lose that land is not true, right? We will remain part of Nevis. We're just improving that piece of the south. And we also want to make sure because if the smaller we go, the denser the population will be. And we want to, the Nevis nice thing, fully on board with that. And we want to make sure that it feels like a paradise resort for everyone that lives there. It keeps that Nevis natural feeling, which is so critical. And the main appeal of Nevis, in my opinion, is that you feel like you're in paradise. You can't do that if you have a small parcel of land. So if you want to keep that lush tropical feel almost, then you want that to be very, very open space. Then that's why we have a large parcel of land. I don't feel like we're taking anything away. And I'll go into the state within the state thing. Just one sec. Yeah, call mommy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the state within the state, also not true. Yes, any special sustainability or special economic zone is because we're the first special sustainability zone. Normally this is called special economic zones, right? You have the DIFC, which is Dubai International Financial District. There's others in the world. You have one in Panama too. I can give you examples. But with Dubai, for example, right? People say, well, that's not residential. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of residential parts in the Dubai International Financial District. They have their own court systems, which is what makes it attractive to people. Because right now, I'll be honest, St. Kitts and Nevis, in terms of efficiency, in terms of, law and courts, it lacks a lot still, right? And if we're just going to copy that, it's not attractive to people to come. Like, why do we stand out? It is because we have more efficient systems, but there's a very important but here, right? We are always going to fall within the oversight and under the constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. We cannot go outside of that. It's not permitted. And just to give you an idea, if you want to change anything in the constitution, you need a 2/3 referendum, right? So it is not possible to do that. We can't, even if we wanted to. Even a prime minister cannot authorize anything outside of the constitution. We will always remain under the laws of St. Kitts and Nevis. The only thing we can do is, for example, propose that for certain matters we have our own efficient court systems, but those will still abide by. So you can have a small, let's say, you know about how an appeal process works, right? You have a case and you appeal and you can go to a higher court, right? So the lower courts can be run inside Destiny, be very efficient. But if people have an issue and they don't feel it was dealt with appropriately, you go to a higher court, and that higher court will always constitutionally remain a St. Kitts and Nevis court. There's no going around that, right? So it's more an improvement for cases that are straightforward to have a fast outcome. And yeah, sorry, I don't want to go too detailed because it's boring, maybe, but I mean, I just want to point out that even with police, right, we're always going to have to abide by the prosecutor, right? Imagine some crime happens, right, and we have a court case. The prosecutor can always take over, St. Kitts and Nevis prosecutor, any case or dismiss any case, right? If he sees, well, why are you not, handling this case well? They can come in and take over the case. Or if they say like, oh yeah, this guy was, I feel, if the prosecutor says, I feel this guy has been improperly treated, he can come in and dismiss the case. So I mean, we have some framework, but we have not even close to the final authority, right? This is also what makes it attractive to people because, and also to me, by the way, I don't want to have this responsibility that we have the ultimate say, right? Because for us, it's also safer to say, look, people, yes, we have our own internal rules, but we're still bound by, the head of the police or like the, right? We can't escape that. And for me, that gives me safety. It makes me feel better because Destiny doesn't have the final say. However, if the prosecutor sees that everything is going well, he will not or she will not intervene because they will be happy, right? Same with court cases, it's more difficult because if someone wants to appeal, they can keep appealing until they go outside of the Destiny system, right? And they can go straight back into the St. Kitts and Nevis system. So, but that's the way it is, and we're completely okay with that. So, are we a state within the state? No, because we're not a state to begin with, right? We're more like a special economic zone, like there exists many around the world that are bound by rules of the existing sovereign, which in this case is St. Kitts and Nevis. We're bound by the constitution. We cannot go around that. Because I studied the constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis very well. For example, the public prosecutor has a constitutional right to take over any case. So even, and this is also good for you, of course, because that means even if the premier somehow gets, sued, he can never override himself, right? The public prosecutor can always take over a case, even against politicians. That's the ultimate authority they have, because it's a safety for you, if that makes any sense. So that's why it's constitutionally enshrined that prosecutors can always prosecute, no matter what. So basically Parliament cannot vote a law that says you cannot prosecute us anymore, right? Because that wouldn't make any sense. So, and we also fall under that law, basically. So that was a very lengthy answer, but I think it's important to understand sorry, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Brian Dyer, Director at the Nevis Disaster Management Department. I know you just explained the process of reporting to the police, but could you explain the governance structure within the SSC?
Yes, well, that's a very broad question, of course. Do you have any specific?
Yeah. Are we looking at having a mayor or just a housing, a president or a housing committee? What do you envisage?
Yes, also a very good question. Thank you. It's more like a condominium association, right? So if you own property in Nevis, you also get voting rights. That's everything in a nutshell. So if you own property, you can vote. It's if you own property in a building, then you can vote in the in association. It's like sort of an HOA type of deal, right? So that's how you get voting rights, and that's basically it. There's no president or anyone that says these are the rules, right? We do have a central body of law, which means we have and we will also publish that, of course, very soon. So you can look at what the rules and regulations are. But I mean, again, they're always bound by St. Kitts and Nevis law, ultimately. But yeah, that's basically how it works. So it's more like a condominium type of rule. You have property, you vote.
So it's more of an association then. It's more of an association rather than a broad governance structure.
An associate? What did you say?
An association. A whole more than an association rather than a physical structure, a mayor, etc., etc.
Exactly. There's a body of law, like any HOA, owners association, that has a law, like how things operate. If you want to change that law, then you have to have the majority vote of the owners of those units. That's basically it. It's very straightforward.
Okay.
There's no special president or elections. We don't have any of that.
All right. Follow-up question. As part of the disaster management mandate, we have to do risk analysis, risk assessments prior to and after impacts of a hazard, whether it be hurricane, earthquake, tsunami, etc., etc. We recognize that you are developing an elaborate environmental impact assessment. We would be interested in reviewing the impact assessment because that would ultimately impact the assessment that we provide to the Nevis administration on a yearly basis.
Yeah, so the interesting part is that we do even better than that. We will have a permanently ongoing environmental impact assessment, not like a one-off and you have to abide by it. It will be a continuous process throughout the development and in the future. So it's a permanent EIA that we have, right? In terms of hurricane resistance, for example, we have strict requirements that we have to abide by. A code, like certain building code standards that we're agreeing to with the government in the agreement. I wouldn't want it I wouldn't want it differently because, of course, we want to make sure that we are up to quality, right? So we have that happily in the agreement that we're abiding by the hurricane codes and all building codes that are required to make sure we're building safely.
All right, thank you. And I'll touch base with your local counterparts as we will need our contacts for disseminating information, especially for early warning.
Yeah, I mean, the details of that, I think we'll have to flesh out separately, maybe in a more detailed meeting.
All right, thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
Good afternoon. My name is Teresia Herbert. I'm the Executive Director at the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society. So I have heard twice this afternoon that there is nothing over there, the land is barren. So has there been a heritage impact assessment conducted? Because historically there were at least 8 plantations or estates in the area. And while we imagine all of them won't survive this development, has there been any assessment as to sort of the ones that might be most important to the Nevisian history and culture, and so that could maybe be maintained throughout this process? And then I'll wait for the next question.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think when I meant that there's nothing there right now, I mean, and in terms of housing, right? We have strict requirements to preserve any historical sites that are found. We are aware of a couple of them. I don't know the exact number, and we will obviously keep watching if we discover anything new because there is an index that we have, but I don't know if it's complete. I don't know the extent to what that was ever done, right? I'm concerned maybe they missed a couple of things. And we have a duty to report and preserve anything we find, and we will. There's no exceptions being made, right? If it's there, then we preserve it. We also have an already as part. I don't know how much I can disclose about the agreement with the government at this point, but for sure, for example, the fort, we will fully preserve that. There will also be a buffer area around that in Saddle Hill Fort. So that will 100% be preserved. Anything else we find will be preserved, right? So of course, it's a valid concern, but we are also very aware, and we want to preserve everything. I think it's also for visitors and tourism, it's critical to have those, right? I think it's a very big added value to have those be available to people and publicly visitable, so they can learn about the history. Of course, some things you might not want to actually be able to go on. Like I don't think it's maybe a good idea to have people visit that like physically where it might deteriorate, but we can. The only thing we have to do is preserve them. We're not going to touch them, and then it's up to Nevis, NIA, to decide what type of access they want to that. But we are obligated to always keep it public, and we will, and to protect it, of course.
Okay, so I guess this is where I sort of put in the plug for the Historical Society. We've done a lot of research around the area and have sort of mapping of the historic sites that are already there. So there's no point in sort of doing the work twice. So we would love to have discussions
Yeah, that's
about
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
I would be very happy to have any information you have to make sure that we already are aware of what you have found and to assist you and cooperate with you in the future to make sure that if we do find something, you will be very much involved with that, right? I think that would be great.
Sure. We're working on a report to compile all of that, so we'll have that to the premier. And
Yeah, but contractually, we're obligated to preserve anything.
I did have one question based on a little bit of conversation that we had today. So it seems that tourism is going to be one of the, for lack of a better word right now, money makers of this zone. Wouldn't that be in direct competition with the rest of Nevis and St. Kitts? And how do you plan to because your zone will be new and fancy and shiny compared to the rest of the island and St. Kitts, right? So how do you plan to ensure that that doesn't decimate our primary industry?
Yeah, again, I don't see Destiny as separate from St. Kitts and Nevis. I see it as being part of it and enhancing it. It's like saying the Four Seasons will take away from everyone. I don't think that will ever happen, right? It just brings more people to enjoy St. Kitts and Nevis. I would be very surprised if people come just to go to Destiny and don't leave it anymore, right? I imagine the more people that come over, the more St. Kitts and Nevis will benefit. Obviously, to me at least, I would say I don't expect that at all. It's quite the opposite. And the GDP study we did and study with Oxford Economics that we already have released publicly confirms the growth of the GDP, right? Which is incredibly appealing to me and very positive, because I was also surprised to see that, and I was very happy with the numbers. It was an independent firm, and I think it will have a substantial positive effect on St. Kitts and Nevis as a whole. I don't see any sort of separation where we somehow take away. I don't think that ever happens historically, right? For example, with the DIFC or Dubai in general, the whole area, like the countries around it, it uplifted the whole place. So no, I think it will be the exact opposite. Yeah, it will have a huge impact on the economy, a positive one.
So we'll take two more questions. So take one here.
Good afternoon. Francisco Dasset. Oliver Jensen, finally, nice to finally meet you.
Likewise.
From what I have read online, I can see that you are a crypto billionaire or a cash billionaire. I'm not too sure, but my question is, with a project of this magnitude, where is the funding coming from?
Yeah, Thank you, and nice to meet you. Good question too. I won't go into specifics about my net worth. I think it's always overstated, right? I can tell you that I have enough to fund this project, and like any project that's proper residential, you work through a combination of seed capital, where you fund the first phase of that. Then you will start taking deposits or payments for the units, and that will help contribute building it. And we will abide by strict rules that we cannot spend any money ourselves and take it away, because I know in the past there were some pyramid schemes where you start building a project and then you wait to sell the next units and you take the money already, and we will have strict accounting standards that can never happen. We will also be very transparent about that. But yeah, what we basically need is the seed capital to get to the phase where, and I already invested a lot of money to get to where we are today, right? Tens of millions was already spent to see what you have today. These master plans are extremely expensive. They're very, very detailed already. So that sort of already shows the quality of that there was already a lot of proof of funds, so to speak. But we have a duty to report to the government, and we are, we have to show them that there's enough financial capability before they can approve the project. And that's one of the shall things with the SSD Act, the restriction that was put in place. So we will abide by that, and the government needs to see it before it can even be passed in Parliament. So I would say, yes, 100% a valid concern, especially with the white elephants that happened. But we have to show them sufficient proof that we have the financial capabilities. And of course, we have, and we will.
Get that,
Hi,
man.
good,
Make it good.
good afternoon, Mr. Jensen. Nice to meet you. I think the most important question is going to be asked now, and it's why Nevis
Come on.
for your development? And hold on a sec, don't just answer. I'm going to put some things into context for you, okay? Just like Mr. Darset here, I have also been seeing articles online with your face and name posted there. I'm not going to say it's you, but with your face and name posted there. And those articles are coming from like 5 years ago, 8 years ago, and they speak about interest in building a libertarian city and cities, like be having your own control over everything. But I want to know if you, but I want to know if you still have those same ambitions, and if those articles online are actually you saying how you feel and believe, and if that is still how you feel and believe, and if it's changed or not. That's the question. Why Nevis? Why
Thank you.
Nevis?
Great question again, and I think it's a very valid question because it came up a lot. First of all, why Nevis? Well, first of all, I am a Nevisian, right? So it's the first place I look at, right? And why would I go elsewhere to do this? So, contrary to popular belief, we haven't really made this very public, including to the premier, like for years. This not has been like a 3-4 year discussion. He was only made aware last summer, I think, about what we wanted to do. And I'm not going to address every rumor, but the claim that somehow real estate agents were aware like way up front and it's all like this political, this is not true, right? We did start optioning land way before that, but we didn't tell anyone why we were doing that, right? Including the realtors were not aware why we were doing that. So we started probably by now 20 months ago, I think, just ballparking here. But for the first year, we didn't tell anyone why. No one, right? Literally no one. Not the premier, not any real estate agents. They didn't know why we were optioning property. So all these rumors, this is completely false. Of course, why Nevis is because I love the island. I think it has enormous potential. I think it's the most beautiful island of the whole Caribbean. There wouldn't be another place I would like to do it, right? I think honestly, but I guess that's also what I said in the video. I'm very biased, but I think in the world is the most attractive place and the most underestimated place for the very simple reason. Where else can you find perfect weather, perfect location, year-round, sea proximity to the United States? For me, this was the location because for Europe you have Dubai already. It's sort of close, but for America you have no equivalent, right? There's no sort of Dubai anywhere near. And this whole thing about Prospera and everything, you know, we can't compare ourselves to Prospera. Like this is like the worst example they could pick, and of course they're gonna say like, yeah, this is what you're going for. This is not what we're going for, not even close, right? Look at the DIFC, look at those examples, look at Dubai, or look at Saudi Arabia, what they're doing there, like Neom. That's a good example, but not Prospera. It's a joke to me, right? Like, I don't talk bad about it, but it's like the worst example what they did. Anyway, to go into the whole thing about, and this indeed 8 years ago, 9 years ago, we had this idea that we made public that we want to find a place to start a new country based on, I think, a better system of governance, right? And that's an older idea, and I'm not saying, you know, it was completely like crazy. But over the years, you learn that running a proper country is not a simple thing to do, right? And then you start realizing, well, do we need all that? Do we even want to do all that? Do you want to have UN membership? Do you want to have passports? Do you want all of that stuff, right? Or do you just want to make sure that you can live in a way that you are in a place where you think this is probably the best place in the world, in paradise? You don't have to go to the North Pole to do something like that, or find some place in the South Pacific. And Nevis was, well, for me, it's what appealed to me most, because of course I am a Nevisian, and I looked at it there and I was thinking, do we need all that? No. What's the most important thing is, well, first of all, the most important thing is, and this is also for the libertarian, I will go into that now, right? What is libertarianism? Because it's always looked at as something bad, but I think most people are libertarians, they just don't know it, right? Libertarian just means that you're very valuable, you have a lot of value and respect for individual rights. That means I have a right to my life, I have a right to own property, right? And we are very much fans of small government, not a government that says, well, if you want to do this, you need, how do I explain it? Because it's very, it's very hard to explain what libertarian is in a very succinct way, but it basically means civil rights are very important, limited government. You don't need permission from the government to eat sugar, stuff like that, right? It's more like, it's more, and I think Nevisians are very much like that, because I have a feeling that they don't trust politicians, right? And I don't trust politicians either, I'll be honest with you, right? So we're just like, leave us alone and let us do our things, and that's it, right? But those things is not anarchy, like it's the opposite of anarchy. It's a very strict rule of law, but it's also a rule of law that makes you respect everyone else. And in a nutshell, it's basically, we say you can do whatever you like as long as you don't impede on other people's rights, right? So as long as you don't violate someone else's rights. So if you want to live your life in a certain way, we respect that, as long as you don't tell everyone else what to do, right? Like this is sort of, but I'm not giving you a good example now, but I'll give you like a text later what explains it in a better way. But I don't think it's something crazy, something dangerous, you know? It's not like we want anarchy, no, exactly the opposite. We want a very safe, just, strict society with respect for civil rights, for private property, and that's it. And yeah, for the, what do we want, like generally? Why not our own country? Yeah, like I said, it's a very tall order, and I don't think we need it. What I mentioned earlier, I really mean that. I feel safer to have like a sort of like a limited framework under an existing host nation like St. Kitts and Nevis, because we can still have our own optimized court processes, I would say. But if for some reason it's not okay, then someone can intervene if they wanted to, right? Not to say that
All
our
right, Mr.
service
Jensen.
is crazy, by the way, but I mean it's very basic.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up for me. I feel a lot clearer on what your thought process is. I hope everybody else has that same clarity. One follow-up question I have for you. I got a concern from one of my cousins, and he said to me that people like you don't really care about people like us. And he used this terminology. He used this. He asked me where you're from. I tell him I don't know where you're from, but I know you have a citizenship, you have a passport for Nevis. So, just a little follow-up question. Are you a citizen of any other place in the world? How many passports do you have? And he moved on to explain why we shouldn't trust you. He said that people like you have a lot of undisposable income, and you go around making projects around the world that fail or succeed. But in your heart, you really don't care because you have the unlimited funding. But if it fails, it fails. If it succeeds, you get more money. So what would you say to people like that would accuse you of being maybe a serial entrepreneur that's just trying something?
Yeah, a very good question too. Thank you. Well, first of all, I don't need more money, right? The things I still do is because it's my passion and I want to give back to the world. I told the Premier the same thing. At this point in my life, I want to give back. I'll be completely honest with you here. The 20% that we're sharing with the government, 5% of the sharing with the people, came 100% from me. No one asked that, right? The government wanted more cash type of benefits, like the $50 million. It's like more a typical ask for a government. But I offered them, yes, great, we'll do that. But I would like to give more than that, right? I would like to give 20% to you, and 10% of that, 10% of everything in total, so half of the 20, we want to put in a sovereign wealth fund. And I told, and I'm just being frank here, right? I told the Premier, your government right now might be great, but what if someone else gets selected in a couple of years and it is gonna be really bad, right? We don't want to just give you a blank check every year and you can do whatever you like with it. That's why I said 10% we give directly to you, no matter who is elected, right? 10% you can spend as you like of the profit, enhance the islands or I don't know, waste it if you want to. But the other 10%, we're putting it in a sovereign wealth fund, and only the interest of that fund you can spend, but in agreement with us. So we can jointly decide which project it goes to. So we have some safeguard to make sure it's not being squandered away, because governments sometimes have a tendency to spend money and not spend it properly, right? And it's a problem around the world. I'm not accusing Nevis necessarily, right? But it's just a problem. So this way we have a say and we can say, look, you guys spend it, but then please spend it on the hospital or do it properly. And we can oversee that to make sure it's spent wisely. It's not a way to control things, by the way. It's just to make sure that it doesn't get squandered away. And I think it will benefit the Nevisians, because then we have some sort of an eye on that, right? And we can make sure it's not wasted. But also I said 5% has to go to the people directly, because that's the ultimate. We're doing it for the Nevisians, right? Not for the government. The government is supposed to be helping you. So I said 5% goes directly to you. And this was a very strong thing from my side, because I think it's important. And some people might say, well, people are just going to squander the money. I'm like, they do with it what they like. But that amount will be substantial, because if you look at it, right, if Destiny becomes successful and it becomes a new type of TIFC or like a Monaco in terms of success, right? And I'm not talking about Monaco being a country, right? I'm really talking about success level of being very valuable. Then everyone will have, a lot of money coming in every month, right? Because we want to share that money, the income every month with everyone. And why would I do something like that when I don't care about people, right? No one asked me for that. I just want to because I really believe on giving back. I don't, I could give 100%, but I still need to have some investors on board and people that want to join. So I can do that. But I think 25% is already a lot. I'm not aware of any development around the world that ever shared their profits with the people. I think we're a first. I think this hopefully will be an example for other developers in the future that instead of thinking only about themselves, right? You share with the island or whatever place you build, you share that with the people surrounding you. And I'm surprised that no one talked about it that much, but this is like a very unique thing, right? This has never happened before. Like a developer coming in, sharing with the people, like the profits. I haven't heard of that, which is incredible. So, well, I think it is. And yeah, so I don't know if that helps. I think I wanted to say some more, but I forgot.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Jensen. This is Franchette Manners. You almost answered my question there, but you fell short. Who oversees the accounts of Destiny? So that we know we are getting the 5%, the 20%. Does Inland Revenue Department of Nevis?
I'll answer that. I forgot about the passport. I'm sorry. I'll get back to that. I get back to the accounting question in a second. The passport. Yes, I do have a Belgian passport, right? I actually have thought many times already to give that one up, but the problem is like I can't travel to Europe. I don't know if I can have visa free with St. Kitts for more than 3 months, so it caused some problems, right? Because I have a lot of family in Europe, so. But for me, my Belgian nationality, I don't feel Belgian anymore. Honestly, I have nothing to do with that country. I don't like the way they're going. So I feel much more aligned with Nevisians and St. Kitts and Nevis. That's all I can say about my passport, right? In the future, I only have one other passport, which is the Belgian one. Will I give that one up at one point? Maybe yes, if I can find a solution for Europe to be able to visit for long periods of time if I wanted to. But for me, that doesn't mean anything anymore. I sort of have like a repulsion almost for Belgium, to be honest. Sorry, I'll get into the accounting now. So you asked, we will like make sure that we're doing proper accounting, auditing, stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we will have independent auditing done all the time. The government can do that legally, contractually. They can audit us. They have that right. That's in the agreement that we're negotiating right now. So they can audit us whenever they want to. And I think they should, right? But we'll be public about our books because, as I said, we're sharing profits with you, right? So you will already know how much we make in profits. So we will be public about about everything. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't.
One more.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Jensen. My name is Carl Claxton. I have a lot of things on my mind. First of all, what is the minimum amount of land which is required for this project? When is the projected start of the project, proposed start of this project? Also, that there has been a lot of chattering on the island, some for, some against. When would Destiny be convening more sessions similar to this with various stakeholders? One being the landowners, one being the bar association, one being the opposition political parties, because the governments that are in place, they're not in there for life, okay?
Correct, yeah.
So when would Destiny, to somewhat clear the air, so that because from the onset, okay, let me speak for me. I look at this project as very shady, how it was approached or how it was presented to the people of Nevis. Somehow there was a level or a degree of secrecy, and in one session, you said a while ago it was about 20 months or something, or last summer meaning sometime last year, or last summer meaning the summer just that we are in right now, because summer before. And that is why I'm asking, because Mr. Brantley said to us, he just found out recently.
No, that's not what he said. Sorry to correct that. Mr. Brand, the premier said that we reached out to him last summer, but obviously it's been yeah.
The last summer, are you indicating the last summer being 2024?
2024, and he said that much because I can actually I follow very much what he says. He did mention it was 2024 that we reached out for the first time to discuss it. However, this has been, as he said, there was nothing concrete agreed, and there was not enough land owned until he got more concrete this summer, right? That's when he said, now I can start talking about it. And we were still having, when we approached him first, these discussions don't form in like a matter of days, right? It's a lot of back and forth. It's more like filling each other out. Would you be open to that and that and that? And then of course it takes shape over a long period of time. And then when we also saw, yes, we now have enough land potentially to do this project and we'll feel comfortable. And I think, but I can't speak for him, right? I think he was also confident that at one point it was serious enough for him to engage more appropriately, right? So I think it's an ongoing thing. It's not like that black and white. It doesn't work like that in negotiations and stuff like that, right? We also weren't aware, can we get a large enough area? And the shadiness, well, I mean, I can't talk for government, right? For us, it was not appropriate to go to the public yet. But I have to say, once the whole project was announced, we have been extremely open. And I'm also surprised no one has ever reached out to us, including the opposition, including reporters, spreading all this fake news to just ask us the question, like, did this happen? Is it true? We have a press address on the website. You know how many emails we received from the press? 0, right? No one is interested. The only thing I have the feeling is people are interested in spreading these like one-liners that work really well online with negativity, but to get the facts, that's a different story, right? So I can't just keep debunking facts all the time on Facebook because it would be a 24/7 job. For me, it's also first because I've never experienced this anywhere else that people actually start just spreading falsehoods instead of just asking questions.
You would make it clear, and you would give the relevant contact details so that persons who want to ask questions and get the truth from the horse's mouth can contact you, so we can just eliminate the hearsays and get the facts.
Absolutely. I mean, I expected that to happen, but it didn't happen.
So if that can be published, so persons know that they can reach out, then I think that it would be easier on the locals' mind in terms of how they can receive the project.
Absolutely. I think if that was not clear, then I'm happy to make sure that's clear. Again, that's also why we had the same discussion, by the way. Apparently, it's needed for us to start reaching out to the people. That's why I already made this video, by the way, right? The reason why I made the video was to give people the truth. I wanted to give people the information of what we have planned, because it was also the right timing, right? There was a lot of stuff spreading. I think that really changed the narrative. People finally saw the project for what it was instead of like everything that's going around. So I'm very happy to do that, and we will start reaching out. We will have a conference, some sort of conference type of town hall deal, but we will also make sure people understand that they should just ask us if they have concerns, because there's nothing to hide, right? Everything I've said so far in the video and everything else, it is just the truth. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I don't even know what would be secretive around this deal. It's all very above board. I mean, if you would even audit all my chats and emails over the last years, it completely aligns with what I always say. So I don't see anything shady going on. There's no backroom deal being made. There's not even a contract signed with the government. People say, wow, this is a done deal. No, there's no deal, right? We're still negotiating with the government. The SSE Act, yeah, repeal the SSE Act, like I said before. You want to repeal the safeguards that they put in place. That doesn't make sense to me. The SSE Act is a safeguard, right? Because if you don't have the SSE Act, well, basically we could have a deal with the government, pass it in parliament, and it would be passed. So it's limitations that were put in place. It doesn't enable things to happen, right? Because if you want to enable things to happen, you just pass the Destiny specific act, right? For me, it's completely absurd, this whole SSE Act thing. It's surprising, but yeah, of course, maybe it's a mistake by the government in terms of communications. I think they made it very clear that the SSE Act is actually a way to limit developments and have them abide by certain requirements, but somehow people don't believe that. But the proof is in the pudding, as they say, right? That means that it's perfectly possible today, without an SSE Act, to do everything that they enable in the SSE Act without the SSE Act, if that makes any sense, right?
Let's go.
Mr. Jansen, it's me. Oh, sorry, it's me, Mackie, again. And earlier, you had mentioned, or it was mentioned about solar energy, solar power. And I just wanted to share with the group an example of what we've done at Palm Garden. So at Palm Garden, we are completely off-grid. We are building a solar canopy which will provide power for one part of the property, including over 100 solar panels. And on the other side of the property, we partnered with Ford Motor Company, and we have a Ford 150 Lightning Platinum Series truck, which actually is a mobile generator for the property. So if that gives you any hope of what we can do with solar power for your project, that's something that can be looked at.
I really like that because we're doing something similar. The first neighborhood we will build, which will be like, I don't know, 60 small villas, so to speak. I said every neighborhood in itself, every neighborhood, 60 villas, 100 villas, has to be self-sustaining on its own, right? Even if it's not part of the thing, we ideally have enough for every little neighborhood to be self-sustaining. And then just, of course, going beyond that. So I really like those ideas. I think that's great.
Olivier, thank you for your time tonight. And I also wanted to make sure. No, I love that. I love that. But see, this is exactly what I was telling you guys. Ask the questions. He's here. But what we want to do is continue these. So there will be more, to your point, with opposition, to your point, with different stakeholders, with different groups that have the questions. We'll continue to have these conversations. And it will continue to be directly with Olivier and the team so that there is no more speculation. You know the facts. You're confident with the decisions that we're making. It's a collective thing. At the end of tonight, we will have some photos and some videos that we'll show with you, and we'll show, we'll send that over to you. But for now, I think we will hold on any more questions and then wait for the next session with some familiar faces and some new faces. Based on the conversation we had tonight, there will be a couple of phone numbers and email addresses that I'll collect, because I think some people have some information that will actually help our project tremendously.
Yeah, just to quell one more rumor that I forgot, Roger Ver is not involved in this project, no matter what people keep claiming. It's not true.
That's for you, though.
He was. We only proposed to. We only approached him like a couple of months ago when we want to buy his land, right? And then he was like, "Oh yeah, okay, interesting." So just to show you, that's not true. And also, a lot of quotes that Roger Ver said are somehow attributed to me, which is not the case. Like, he said at one point, governments love money, stuff like that. I never said that, but it's sort of like, looks like I did. Somehow I became Roger Ver, which is not true. I'm very different from Roger Ver, right? Just so you know that. Yeah, I'm very much in favor of the law and stuff like that. So I'm not like, I'm not an anarchist.
Thank you. Thank you. And we will send everything over, and have a good night. And we're sorry you didn't get to say goodnight to Sky properly. Hopefully she's still awake and you can go say goodnight properly.
No worries, but if you have more questions, I'm still here for the next hour, so just call me.
There you go. We'll call you. We got this. Okay, thank you. Good night. Bye.